The day my fiancé's foster sister was diagnosed with stomach cancer, I got into a car accident. I remember thinking, I can't die, not yet. If I do, he'll fall apart. When I finally woke up, groggy and disoriented, I could barely make out Brian's voice. He was talking to someone, his private doctor, I think. Switch out all her meds for water. Don't let her recover too quickly. And make sure she takes this drug. We need to guarantee she truly loses her memory. The doctor's voice trembled. He clearly wasn't comfortable with what he was hearing. Mr. Thompson, crashing Miss Ellington's car so that you can go on a dating show with your sister was already over the line. Besides, this medicine hasn't been successfully developed yet. Apart from memory loss, there will be other side effects. Brian didn't flinch. His voice stayed cold. Going on the show with Addison is her dying wish, but I don't want Kaya to get hurt. If she forgets everything, she won't feel the pain. Once Addison's gone, I'll give her the cure. She'll fall for me all over again. If anything goes wrong, I'll take care of her, for life. But what he didn't know was that the drug wouldn't just erase my memories. It would also make me lose every bit of love I had for him. And that, well, there's no cure for that kind of loss. 3 days later, I stopped loving Brian Thompson completely. Kaya's POV. After giving me the drug, Brian stayed close. He sat by my side, holding my hand like he used to. The warmth of his touch nearly made me dizzy. I squeezed my eyes shut, but the tears still came, slipping out from the corners like they had a mind of their own. Panic crept into his voice as he tried to comfort me. Kaya, hey, does it hurt? His voice was soft, almost tender. I couldn't fake it anymore. The side effects hit hard, and I started vomiting, nearly choking up bile. Brian rushed over with a glass of water, moving so quickly that he didn't even notice the glass cutting his hand. Still clinging to one last thread of hope, I looked up at him. Who are you? And who am I? His eyes flickered for a second, but Brian's reply was calm and rehearsed. Kaya, you're my sister's assistant and my friend. You were in a car accident. You lost your memory. I'm here to take care of you. I laughed bitterly, pushing him away with a wave of my hand. Under his confused gaze, I said, thanks. I can take care of myself. 4 years as his girlfriend, 2 years engaged. We were supposed to be getting married, yet all I got was the label of friend. How ironic. That stung more than anything. Brian stood awkward as hell, trying to figure out what to say. I'd never pushed him away before, and now the space I put between us made him visibly uncomfortable. He opened his mouth, maybe to explain or lie again, but a bright, chirpy voice filled the room before he could say anything. Brian, I missed you so much, and it's only been an hour. A girl came bouncing in like a puppy off its leash, straight into his arms. He caught her automatically. One arm wrapped around her waist, the other rested gently on her head. Clinging to him like a koala, she turned and smiled at me. Brian, shouldn't you introduce us if she lost her memory? He ruffled her hair like she was made of glass. Kaya, this is my sister, Addison. Addison pouted. She protested. Nah, I'm your girlfriend, too, remember? Right, Brian? He sighed, giving in. Yeah, my dear girlfriend. Now get down. You can't handle this physically. I just stared. The Brian I knew hated Addison. Sure, he treated her like a kid when they were growing up, but the moment she turned 18 and confessed her feelings, he was horrified. He moved out that same week and cut her off completely. When we started dating, he knew I might feel weird about Addison. So, to prove I came first, he sent her abroad and hadn't seen or talked to her in 6 years. So now what? Was all that just an act? I guess my expression gave me away, because Brian quickly tacked on, my sister's sick. Addison interrupted sharply. Brian, why are you telling my assistant all this? Kaya's POV. Addison wrinkled her nose and tucked herself tighter into Brian's arms. Brian, the floor's filthy. She just took the medicine. What if she throws it up? How about giving her another pill, just in case it stops working? Brian glanced at me with those unreadable dark eyes, then nodded like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. I clutched my stomach, which was already twisting itself in knots, and shook my head. No, I'm fine. My stomach's killing me. I don't want any more pills. But of course, he didn't listen. His grip tightened as he pinned me down. Kaya, come on. Your body won't heal right if you don't take it. Before I could fight back, he pried my mouth open and shoved the pill in. Fearing I wouldn't swallow, he clamped his hand over my nose and mouth, cutting off my air. Choking, I struggled desperately, and the wound on my head began to bleed again. I could feel the wound reopen, the blood starting to drip again. He was terrified I'd remember that if I didn't forget him, I'd mess up his whole picture-perfect show with Addison. Tears slipped out and landed on his hand. That made him pull back, like I'd burned him. Then the drug kicked in. My stomach spasmed hard, pain shooting through me like someone had knifed me from the inside. I doubled over. Blood, real, hot blood, poured from my mouth. Brian's face went pale. He looked like he'd just seen a ghost. He grabbed at me, frantically wiping at the mess. Kaya, what the hell? This wasn't supposed to happen. It's not supposed to be this bad. I couldn't even speak. I just held onto my abdomen, trying to stay conscious. Everything in me was screaming. It wasn't supposed to be this bad. But this drug was developed by him and his company. To help him succeed, I secretly became their test subject, taking the drug many times, forgetting him over and over, and then forcing myself to fall in love with him again. And each time, I somehow fell for him all over again, but because I took it too many times, the side effects grew worse with each dose. And this one felt like it was ripping me apart. My body gave out. I slipped off the bed and hit the floor, too weak to move. Brian knelt beside me, hands trembling as he tried to clean up the blood. It only made the mess worse. Where's the doctor? Get the damn doctor in here now, he yelled. Addison tugged at his arm, annoyed. Brian, seriously? She's just an assistant. I pay her enough to buy 10 lives. Once she sleeps it off, she'll forget everything, and she won't feel a thing. And I heard there's a pool scene on the show. Come help me pick out a swimsuit. Brian hesitated. For a moment, he looked torn. Then his hand slipped from mine. His voice was quiet, almost detached. Kaya, once you sleep and forget, everything will go back to normal. And just like that, he let me go. I stayed there, crumpled on the floor, barely holding myself up. I didn't even look at them, didn't want to see their faces, just listened to their footsteps fading down the hall. Then the tears came, big, ugly, shaking sobs. But Brian, I'd taken so much of that drug, my brain couldn't forget you anymore. What it did was worse. It didn't erase my memories, it chipped away at my feelings for you, little by little. And once the full effect kicks in 3 days from now, I'll never love you again. After a while, the tears slowed. The pain in my chest dulled just enough for me to catch my breath. That's when my phone buzzed. It was Mom. Kaya, the Stanton family's eldest son, came by to propose again this year. I told him you liked someone else, but he said he'd wait for you forever. What do I tell him this time? I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the video Addison had sent me. It showed Brian gently helping her try on swimsuits, his hands on her shoulders, and soft eyes. I closed my eyes. That sting in my chest burned hotter than before. Mom, I said, boy steady, no need to turn him down. I've said yes. There was a pause on the line. Okay, I'll tell him you're getting married. Wait, what? You agreed? Did I hear that right? I thought you liked that Thompson guy? Why the sudden change? I cut off her nagging. I'll explain later. I'll be back in 3 days for the wedding. Because 3 days from now, I wouldn't love Brian. Not anymore. Even before my wounds healed, Brian had his people come collect me. They dragged me to the reality dating show filming set like I was just another prop. There he was with Addison, dressed in matching light outfits, clinging to each other like honeymooners. He shoved a camera into my hands without even looking me in the eye. Kaya, you're the best photographer. Make sure you get good shots of me and Addison. Real close. Kaya's POV. I took the camera without really thinking. Brian inspired me to take up photography to capture our happiest, most authentic moments. But now, he just expected me to film his sweet moments with someone else. On set, couples shared why they'd fallen for the female guest. Brian didn't make a big speech. Instead, he pulled out little things, Addison's baby tooth, strands of hair she'd lost, a pink hairpin. Gasps and squeals erupted from the audience. That's so sweet. I'm melting. This is what love looks like. Addison blushed, but Brian? He stared at her with a tangled and complex look that sent a chill right through me. Right then, I understood his feelings for her. This forbidden thing wasn't as hateful as he'd made me believe. It wasn't nearly as disgusting as he said. Those little keepsakes were proof. I held back tears and pressed the shutter, watching the evidence of our love disappear, photo by photo, replaced by their intimacy. Meanwhile, giant LED screens on every skyscraper lit up with huge letters. Brian Thompson loves Addison Green. The crowd went wild. Wow, is this the CEO's love story? They're basically serving us their dog food. Oh my god, this usually low-key entrepreneur is going public for the one he loves? I'm jealous. Some raved about the perfect match, the handsome man, the stunning woman. But others whispered, I know Mr. Thompson. Didn't he have a fiancé? Or am I imagining things? The room fell silent for a beat. Addison fired back, what nonsense. Brian doesn't have a fiancé. He's always liked me. Brian's face darkened. He had the man who spoke up escorted out immediately and then gently comforted the shaken Addison. After she calmed down, he fixed the cameras with his gaze and announced, Addison is the only one I love. I've never had a fiancé before, and I never will. My hands went numb. The camera nearly slipped from my grasp. I stumbled back a step. That's when it hit me. Even though he loved me so much, I finally understood why he never made our relationship public. Even when he sent Addison away to study abroad, he never announced our engagement. Everything between us had to stay hidden. And it was because he feared Addison would get hurt if she ever found out. Couples showed videos of how their love grew, from the first spark to real understanding. I thought Brian would show childhood photos, but the pictures surprised me. They spanned nearly 6 years. October 26th, on my birthday, he was watching the Aurora Borealis with Addison. March 15th, our anniversary, they kissed on the Ferris wheel. Brian was always too busy to be there for my birthdays or when I was sick, but he sincerely apologized every time. When I was upset, he'd stand outside my door for hours, sometimes days. When I was in danger, he was always the first to protect me. He bore a scar on his left arm from blocking a bottle thrown by a drunkard. Brian made me believe he loved me so deeply. That's why when I took those pills, I forced myself to remember him over and over, even though the medicine made me forget time and time again. But now it was clear as day. Those busy days Brian always talked about were spent overseas with Addison. The overly sweet vlog played in the room, buzzing with excitement. Brian glanced back instinctively at where I stood. Then, as if remembering I had no clue, I sighed in relief. I watched Addison press a kiss to the corner of Brian's lips. He responded eagerly, and their tongues met. My hands moved independently, snapping photo after photo. Even as my tears blurred the viewfinder, I felt like the biggest fool in the world. So stupid. I thought he loved me like his life depended on it. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't see, was that every time Brian disappeared on the days that mattered most to me, it was because of Addison, buying her sanitary pads, changing them, overstepping all boundaries under the pretense of being siblings.